Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Cromwell Board of Education at 5 p.m. Laura, would you take roll call, please?
Here. 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 Ms. Franklin? Here. Mr. Judy? Here. Mr. Heisman? Here. Mrs. Kelleher?
Here.
Mrs. Russ?
Here.
Mr. Sheehy?
Here.
Mr. Dabrowski?
Here.
Mrs. Arnista? Here. Ms. Berry? Mr. Lozano? Here. Mrs. Livingston? Mrs. Machino? Mr. Coco? Here. Dr. McLean? Here. Dr. Macri?
Here.
Ms. Maher? Here. Ms. Middlebrooks? Here. Mrs. O'Leary? Here. Mrs. Shepherd? Mr. Shuttle? Ms. Helmet? Here. Mrs. Weisskopf? Julia Bay Maradova? Here. Summer Tetro? Here. Jack Mandigo? Here. Madison Stryker? Here. Did I miss anyone?
I don't believe so. Thank you very much. Okay, approval, sorry?
It was Stacy Dabrowski. Yes, Stacy.
Thanks for remembering that. All right, we'll move on to approval of our agenda and then additions, deletions, and chair's review. I don't believe we have any changes to the agenda unless you do, Dr. Macri? None at all? Okay, so we will have an update from our Effective School Solutions team this evening, and also an update in our reading waiver, followed by board member training by Shipman and Goodwin, which we're hoping to have that begin at 8 p.m. So with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Motion. Kelly, second by Alan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The agenda is approved. We'll move right on to celebrating our faculty and staff, and this month we have Cromwell Middle School, so we'll have Mrs. Cochiola come on up.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very honored to recognize tonight two folks. And first, I'd like to start with Mr. Kiss. Come on up, Mr. Kiss. We at CMS are very honored to recognize Mr. Doug Kiss. Not only is he an amazing STEM coding teacher, he's also the originator and creator of our CMS Student News. He began this endeavor, the CMS Student News, in 2015, and since then has published our student news every week. He has facilitated 308 shows to date. He also has facilitated, in addition to that, he's also captured all of our assemblies, our Veterans Day events, our 6th grade orientations, and our promotions. So wherever there's an event happening, Mr. Kiss is there covering it, along with our students. We also currently have 990 subscribers on our YouTube channel. The student news is featured weekly in our CMS Family Student Newsletter, so please make sure when you check our newsletter, you will always see our weekly student news there. He facilitates the student productions. The students do all the research, they film, and they direct each show. Every Friday morning, our staff shares the student news production with everyone, and that way our kids' work is showcased on a weekly basis. And our 8th graders are the ones who are mostly in charge of the production, and they get to bring this valuable experience to the high school as they know that Cromwell High School news, and that just immediately allows them that background and experience to be able to participate in that if they choose. So I want to thank Mr. Kiss for embedding this valuable experience into our middle school way of life. We are proud of him and our students for all their hard work. Mr. Kiss.
Thank you. I met with Ms. Cochiola this morning, and she asked, how long have you've had this show for? And I honestly wasn't sure. I had to go back and look, and I said, it looks like 2015. I didn't think it would last 8 weeks, let alone 8 years. And I think one of the big successes is we started it down at the middle school, and then they built it up here at the high school, and they're still expanding it here. So if you're a student in Cromwell and you have an interest in TV production, video production, content creation, you can get that experience. It's here for you. And I will tell you, just from anecdotally going on YouTube and looking at other districts and towns, and there's no way I can prove this, but the content that we produce at the middle school and high school is as good as anyone. We just have so much stuff out there, and whether it's Fox 61 that we've produced stuff for, or just stuff going around our school. So I just think it's a unique opportunity, and hope you check it out.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kiss, for being here tonight, and thank you for having that skill set. I think it's really important for kids to have something to do other than just academics. It's a great outlet, and I'm sure it'll be useful for them in the future. So thank you.
Absolutely. And there'll be future newscasters, and we'll see them, right?
That's right.
And all because of Mr. Kiss. The student now I'm very honored to recognize is Gabby Colo J. Chalk. Come on up, honey. She's a 6th grade student at Cromwell Middle School. There she's. Come over here. And I just so felt she needed to be recognized because she truly embodies our SOAR character traits. She models compassion, responsibility, and respect. Recently and currently, she's hosting a winter clothing drive for the homeless. This was an initiative she took on all her own. She filled out all the forms she needed to fill out, and her heart and soul is into promoting this drive. She's spearheading this endeavor all by herself. Every morning, she gets on the intercom and she speaks to our CMS community, and she encourages everyone to please donate clothing. She's very specific. We need new clothing, not really, she gets really, don't think you can just bring in your old t-shirts. She needs clothing that's gonna really help folks. And so she asks every morning for the students to help to donate, because it's gonna go this year for the homeless, and those items are gonna be sent to St. Vincent de Paul. But this isn't her first endeavor, and I'm sure Mr. Butwell can remember this as well. She has organized these clothing drives since 4th grade. She was inspired to hold these drives as she watched her parents organize a drive at their work, and she sought to support them. So she said, okay, we're going to do this. And in 4th grade, she collected 400 items the first year and 700 items the following year. So we absolutely applaud her efforts, and let's encourage, as I keep saying every morning, CMS to answer her call so that we can continue to support our outside community of Cromwell. So, Gabby, congratulations, and I'm impressed. She's a great role model for all of us. Want to say a few words?
Sure.
Okay.
No pressure. You do this every morning, right?
Good evening, Board of Education. As Ms. Cocciola already mentioned, my name is Gabby Koljachok, and I am a 6th grade student at the Cromwell Middle School. I wanted to thank Ms. Cocciola for letting me do this drive for the homeless. Not only is this drive going on at CMS, but A&M Chiropractic is also collecting winter items if you would like to donate them. So I wanted to thank Ms. Cocciola for helping me start this clothing drive so that we can help the homeless this year be warm for Christmas. So thank you, Ms. Cocciola, for all your help, and thank you, Board of Education, for listening.
Thank you, Gabby. I think it's so important that you embrace what your parents started, and I'm amazed that you've been doing this for a few years, and we're really proud of you. It's such a good time of year to be thinking of others, so thank you.
So if you have any items, please send them our way at CMS. Thank
Okay.
you.
Or A&M Chiropractic, right? Okay. All right, from there we'll move on to public comments. Before I read the rules, is there anyone here for public comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to reports of liaisons from the Town Council, Board of Finance, CMS Building Committee, and Fields Committees. And I do see we have Stacy Dabrowski here this evening from Town Council, and she is our new board liaison. So if you'd like to come on up, Stacy, and give us an update, we'd appreciate it. Thank you for joining us.
Stacy, the red light needs to be on the microphone.
I'm used to just being there. Thanks, everyone. I'm Stacy Dabrowski, newly elected member to Town Council. So some of you may not know me, maybe you do. right after swearing in last month, so I'm 1 month new, mind you, I was appointed to be the liaison between Town Council and Board of Ed, along with the liaison between, to Inland Wetlands and the Charter Revision Committee. The goal here would be just to help bridge any gaps in communication or anything that I could support Board of Ed with Town Council. My role is just to help bridge things. So please contact me at any point in time if you need anything. I'm happy to help. With that being said, I'm going to my second town council meeting tomorrow, so show me a little bit of grace as we get through this. Topics on our agenda tomorrow, which everyone is welcome to come to, is the plan of conservation and development. There's a draft report out there. It's about 50 pages long. I highly encourage everyone to take a peek at it. It talks about the town's long-term vision and planning and goals. So a lot of helpful information in there that we should all be aware of. And it will be open for about 60 days for public comment along with town council comments. There will be discussion of on possible action regarding the high school multi-purpose field and the Pearson Park project as well. Then there's going to be discussion on and possible action on the climate and culture study at, in the town council recommendations, along with discussion and possible action on the cultural district commission. Lots of new appointments to open positions tomorrow as well. Some couple resignations, so it's going to be a good meeting. So everyone's welcome. And if there's anything else in the meantime until next meeting, my contact information is on the website. Feel free to reach out at any point in time.
Thank you, Stacy. Okay, we will move on to building. Sorry.
We'll do building committee first. Go ahead.
Well, no one's here from building committee, but we should have, yep, we do have a report, which hopefully you've read through. If anyone has any questions, they can reach out to the chairwoman, Rosanna Glenn. And then, do you have an update, Catherine? Okay.
I actually have
And
an
this is
update.
for the fields committee.
Yeah, so the athletic field committee, just to give an update, we met last week, and the plans, the site approval plans went through and were approved by Inlands and Wetlands, and then went to Planning and Zoning on the 5th of December, and tomorrow night we are going to Town Council to kind of revise our charge now of what we're doing for the building committee, because the committee itself doesn't have a lot of action that we're taking. A lot of it's being done strictly by the town, and so we need to revise that so that we are more involved in the process. So we had our newly elected mayor, James Demetriadis, there, former mayor Steve Fortenbach, and the building committee chair, Rosanna Glenn, came and sat in our meeting. We're going to be establishing subcommittees soon and formalizing more plans for ourselves. So, and also at the town council meeting tomorrow night, hopefully they will determine what our committee does versus what the town will do, because they've been doing things and we're not aware of it. So hopefully we'll bridge those gaps and have better communication in between the town and the committee. And we also set our meeting dates for next year, so that should be up on our section of the website coming up soon. So hopefully we'll start to see more moving forward with this. And we did have a discussion to update people on the committee of what the referendum process will look like for this. But there are committees that we're setting up that will look at things like our updates at town council meetings, how we're going to inform and keep the community involved, and what fiscally it's going to look like, what grants and fundraisings we're going to be hopefully able to secure to help fund this project. But just to clarify, it seems like a lot of people are confused. The athletic field committee is looking at the field at the high school, and it'll include putting in a turf field. It is not the same thing as the Pearson Park project. They are two separate projects. So the athletic field committee is doing something dramatically different from what's happening at Pearson Park. And the goal is to have all our high school activities and games played on school grounds and not at Pearson Park going forward.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to our report from student representatives. We'll start with the middle school.
Hello, I'm Jack Mandigo.
And I'm Madison Stark.
Student Council is currently hosting a toy drive. Each holiday season, the Medical family organizes a toy drive to support the children getting treatment at Connecticut Children's Medical Center. This year, students and staff at CMS are underway with their toy drive, which will be coming to a conclusion on Friday.
On Friday, December 9th, CMS participated in the annual PJ Day for the kids. Students and staff were encouraged to wear PJs for the day and additionally donate $1 that went to support the brave kids at Connecticut Children's Center who are battling cancer. Together, CMS was able to raise $540. The CMS Student Council will also support a Spirit Weekend toy sale the week before vacation to raise funds for students or students in need.
CMS was fortunate to have Mr. John Halligan, father of Ryan Halligan and author of Ryan Stories, present to the entire school body on December 7th. He discussed the devastating effects of bullying in a poignant speech about the loss of his son, Ryan, to suicide in 2003. Prior to the presentation, the students were all provided a video and a lesson on how to be an upstander in a bullying situation. There will be a follow-up lesson during advisory on December 20th.
The middle school basketball season began on Monday, December 4th against Colchester. The boys, coached by Mr. LeBain, earned a convincing win on the road, while the girls' team, coached by Dr. Bosworth, looks to regroup in their next contest.
The CMS Art Club is set to begin in the coming weeks for the 7th and 8th graders.
Yearbook Club has created a layout and has been collecting great photos.
Members attended a meeting about youth equity and leadership in Hartford on November 16th.
Band is preparing for their concert on December 13th. Select Choir has been rehearsing every Wednesday morning, and the 26-member jazz band continues to rock on.
The Drama Club is underway with auditions that begin on Monday, December 11th. The musical, The Little Mermaid, will be presented in the spring.
Great, thank you both. Any questions for our student reps? Lots of good things going on, lots to look forward to. And we'll move on to the high school.
I just want to say thank you for the little gifts.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so for the general announcement, or the notes, on Friday, December 8th, Cromwell High School participated in the CCMC Pajama Day. Students and staff donated $1 or more to support the Connecticut Children's Hospital. 61 CHS students participated in a new program this fall where they exchanged a series of letters with their pen pals in WIS, specifically 4th and 5th graders. Each pen pal wrote and received letters throughout October and November. It was a success. Carbon Club is selling both honey and maple syrup to raise money. The honey and maple syrup is homemade and locally sourced by Mr. Harder and Mr. Anderson, 2 high school teachers. Kayak Club is decorating liquor store bags with positive messages for a safe holiday season.
Also, thank you for the little gifts.
Of course.
The fall sports season has come to an end. To start off, congratulations to girls soccer for winning their first state championship in many, many years against Thomaston, and congratulations to All-State Junior April Blanc and Senior Cameron Hickey. Football season has ended with many successful games. Last played the state championship Saturday, December 9th against Bloomfield, which unfortunately ended in a loss, but still a strong season for the players. Girls swimming had their CIAC Class S finals Wednesday, November 15th. Boys soccer, girls volleyball, and boys and girls cross country season all ended with fun and strong seasons. Congratulations to all fall sports athletes and wishing good luck to all participating in upcoming winter sports season.
Great, thank you. Any questions for our student reps? No, any comments? All right, thank you. And we also echo that, congratulating all the fall sports teams. They all did an amazing job. Congratulations to the girls soccer team and then the boys football team. They really came a long way and they worked really hard. So I know many of you were at that game. It wasn't what they wanted, but obviously they tried their best and had a great season. So congratulations to all. Do we have any town collaboration updates, Dr. Macri?
Just a quick, simple one that I'll get into when we talk about the facility study. We are working on a tri-board meeting with the Town Council, Board of Finance, and Board of Education so that we can discuss the asset overview, which was what the facility study, which we're calling those interchangeably. So hopefully we will be able to meet sometime in February or March. We just want to get through the budget season. and then we can have more time to have a really meaningful discussion.
Great, thank you. And then we'll move on to your updates and responses to Board of Ed comments and action items from the prior Board of Education agenda.
I feel like everybody said everything, which is so great. A huge congratulations to our girls soccer team. I like being the underdog sometimes, because when they go out there and they have heart, and they had heart that day, there was no way. They dominated that field. It was so exciting. It made us all really proud. Lose or win, we were all really proud, but we were happy to now purchase a banner for girls soccer. That'll be the first time that we're doing that. So that's on the agenda. And again, to the boys, the football team, it was a good start. It was an exciting game. They worked their tails off too, and it just ended with Bloomfield winning. And I have to say that when I got to go upstairs, I was so excited to go up and look at the, I never went up there before. What do you call that fancy room? That fancy booth up top. The coach from Bloomfield was coming into the elevator, and he was so excited. And he said, I'm just so excited because he's been coaching for so long and he's retiring this year. So I was like, okay, you can have the win. I thought he was going to cry. So I said, okay, everything happens for a reason. So congratulations to our boys, and of course to Bloomfield's coach. Coaching isn't easy. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of time away from your family with a ton of reward internally, but financially it's not. And so I want to thank our coaches. It's a lot when you're going into the championships, and like we call ourselves the home of the champions. We really are the home of the champions, and Mr. Kucka loves that we are the home of the champions. And so am I. But that's a huge time commitment from Mr. Kucka and from Miss Binghamton, and especially from Coach, I just want to call her Coach Maher, Miss Maher. They do a wonderful job. I'm so impressed with how our athletic teams run, how all of our championship games, they just go off without a hitch. And that's a huge thank you. And I do try to thank her every year, Coach Maher. But that is a lot of evening time and away from her personal life. So thank you again, Coach Maher. And to the administration, you guys have really done an awesome job. And thank you to all of our athletes. Proud of all of our athletes. Now we better get some winter trophies and banners and spring, because everyone knows I don't like to lose. Okay, and we have, we talked about PJ Day, which was awesome. And I don't have a total count, but I know how much the middle school made now, because you guys have a total count. But I don't have a total count on how much we raised as a district. But we do raise a lot of money to donate to CCMC as a Cromwell public school. Very proud of it. And our kids they have a very good understanding of why they're doing this. A few other things that people are doing just to help families who really need support through the holidays. Holiday Bear, Warm the Children, and we work very closely with the Cromwell Coalition for Children, who's always there. They're always there for us to help support our families that are in need. So that's all underway, and we want to make sure everyone has food and some gifts under their trees if they can't afford to have that. And then the big one is the facility study, the asset overview. We did get this beautiful report that's followed up by backup reports of any which way and what kind of information we can possibly ask for. So the way this worked was the town council, the Board of Finance approved for us to move forward with an asset review overview. I'm going to call Claudio Bazzano up to the podium in case you have any questions. But for tonight, what I want to tell you, and keep it as brief as we can, is this is 60 pages and this is a lot. There's probably 500,000 other pages of reports that we could print. What we really are focusing on in our budget for this year is things that are related to life safety priority, which you'll see when we do our budget presentation. The second thing that I want you to know is it's very important for us to have that tri-board meeting so that all of us are hearing the same thing at the same time, because truthfully, you saw the bottom line, the bottom number. don't be afraid of the bottom line. It is a big 53 million or whatever, $58 million bottom line. But there are a lot of things included in this report that we have abandoned, and we wouldn't, we haven't either used that mechanical system or some of such, which Claudio can answer for you much better than I can. And then when we have our Board of Finance, our tri-board meeting, what we'd like to do is tell everyone what we learned, and we're going to let you know about just year one of what we plan to do for year one. Have a conversation of how are we going to accomplish what needs to be done for year one, especially with life cycle, because it is expensive. Some things are intertwined into our budget already that we've known about. And then what is it going to look like for year 2, 3, 4, 5, and most likely out for 10 years. And that has to be a conversation that we have with all 3 board meetings of how are we going to address this, because it cannot come out of the Board of Education budget. It's obviously, we have to run the school system. So that's all I have. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask Claudio, he's up at the podium, and he has been working his tail off, going through as many of the training and looking at all the prioritized areas, and he's given me a ton of information. So if you'd like to ask him any questions, please feel free to now.
Just to remind me, are we also bringing this to facilities in January? So there'll be opportunity then
So
too, right?
this will
Okay.
come to the facilities committee, and we also will have on the evening when we decide to have that tri-board meeting, Gordian will come in and actually explain how they came up with all of this, what the process is. So we'll have Gordian doing that piece, and then we'll talk about, obviously, the life safety priority areas that we really can't wait. And then we'll talk about the other things, because it really is a prioritization of the community. What does the community think we need to get done more quickly than others? If it's not life safety, clearly we know. Or if we wait too long, like we've done quite often, is kick the can, and then we start talking about things getting incredibly expensive.
So Catherine, go ahead. So for tonight, I was just going to say that we know that we have an opportunity coming up in facilities for questioning, but if you have anything high level that you want to ask Claudio, now would be a good time. But did you have a question to start us
Super
out?
high level.
Mhm.
I know that this was also needed for our NEASC accreditation. So are we required to submit that entire report over, or just let them know that it's been completed?
So that's a
Or do you
great
have to
question.
summarize?
I just talked to Mr. Kuckel, and I just talked about that because in the fall they'll be coming out. So we will be working on, after we have this tri-board meeting, Claudio Bazzano and myself and a team of people, not just myself, will be working on that 5-year capital improvement plan, which we have to have for NEASC. What we need to decide as a community is, are we going to, is the Board of Education's capital improvement plan going to fit into the town's improvement plan? We have to do one no matter what in order for us to at least get the points for accreditation for NEASC. So we're going to move forward with a 5-year capital improvement plan from the Board of Education. How it becomes intertwined with the town is that decision will be made from that tri-board meeting.
But NEAS just needs to know that one occurred and that they don't need a copy of the actual.
They do not
Gordian
need a
report.
copy of this. We just need to give them an idea of how we came up with these being
The
the
priorities.
greatest needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Going once? Going twice? You're off the hook.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for being here.
He taught me a lot in the last few days. See that? Got you off the hook, Claudio.
All right. We'll move on to presentations and reports of administration, the 2023-2024 budget update, reference B in your packet. For that, do we have Mr. Shuttle here? We do. It's like a little bit of a change, but did you want to go over the changes?
Sure. Let me first say, last meeting I misspoke. I had told you that in the capital non-recurring, there was a couple $100,000. I should have said a couple $100,000 was expended over the last few years. So you actually have less than $9,000 right now in that account.
That's more like it.
Okay, so my fault. I apologize. Yeah, a little bit of a change from last meeting. is it dramatic? I don't consider it to be that dramatic of a change, even though it looks like a small deficit right now. The biggest areas in change, as you could see, salaries was actually regained almost 400,000 in salaries. On the other hand, with tuition and some other purchase services, we actually lost $400,000. So there was a balance there. Benefits and purchase services were down between $30,000 and $35,000. Supplies were down about 27,000, but yet equipment was a positive 40,000. So it looks as though we are in a deficit, and as of this date, we are. But I'm a little bit more optimistic right now, looking at budget reports for the last 3 or 4 days. I would, at this point, if you were to ask me today, I would say we're in a positive position right now. Just for a couple of different things. Nothing major. It might be $50,000 to the good, which is not a lot of money again at this point in time. Another driving factor that could increase that a little bit is the special education excess cost grant. I think we'll have a few more dollars in that as well. If the state funds the 100%, in 3 different categories. There's 3 different categories now that the state has come up with, depending on where you're ranked in the state. We rank in the 85% reimbursement level if there's enough money to fund everybody. Obviously, the top is close to 100%. The lowest is about 75%. So we're at about, if they fund the 85%, we're in a better position than we were about a month ago right now. So that's a positive at this point in time. Other than looking at deficits in tuition accounts, unless something major happens under facilities that we need some additional funding, I don't see necessarily this rising again. It all depends. Outside tuitions, new IEPs, if we need to hire some new paraprofessionals. So all that obviously has a big impact on the budget. But though I would say those are probably the 3 largest areas to look at. Special ed tuition, we've encumbered our magnet school tuitions, so that's in here. So we're almost positive what those are going to be for the rest of the year. So it's really looking at some salaries. Benefits are fairly well adjusted at this point in time. Again, unless we hire some new positions, this takes into account any unfilled positions that are outstanding right now. So, again, it looks worse than it was last time, but in my way of thinking, it's not as bad as I expected it to be at the end of November, to be honest with you.
Okay. Questions? Did you say something? No,
I said freeze that budget.
Oh.
Works every time.
Oh.
Sadly.
No questions? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Shuttle. We appreciate it. All right. So from there, we move on to new business, and we have our Effective School Solutions update, and we'll have Ms. Sari O'Leary come on up, Director of Special Services, and she will introduce the virtual presentation.
Half virtual, half in person.
Hybrid.
Hybrid version. Steve's blood pressure rises.
And you have with you Ann Conklin, Sari? Ann
I have
Conklin.
Amy Conklin.
Amy
here.
Conklin,
She just
sorry.
have a little tech issue. She needs a plug too, I guess, for her computer. I'm sorry. So Amy Conklin is here from ESS. So grateful she could join us in person. And then we have Allison Whitman and Erin Sennell over Zoom. Hi.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone.
Oh, you have it up there. Okay, perfect. Then I'll just go off of that. Perfect. Is it okay if I stand here? Of course. Can you hear her if she stands? Can I move the mic? Like this?
Yeah, you have to take the mic with you. I'm
You can
sorry.
you could take that one of the student rep mics if you'd like, and if that would reach better.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I guess I'm learning there has to be a red light.
Yes.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Would you like to say something before I start, or should I just dive in?
Yeah, so we have a presentation for you, which was provided in your word packets. But we're here today to just a brief overview to some of the new board members and people in the audience of what ESS entails as a program. And then we're going to get into some data in terms of our program here at the high school and outcomes and some budgetary items, and we'll leave time for question and answer.
Thank you so much. I'm Amy Conklin. I'm Director of District Partnerships for Effective School Solutions. So my responsibility is expanding our existing footprint in the state of Connecticut. We're currently partnered with 24 districts in Connecticut, Cromwell being one, and thrilled to be here tonight and share with you some of our progress so far. And I'm joined by my colleagues, as Mrs. O'Leary said, from our clinical team, Erin Chanel, who is your regional director. Erin is basically the clinical supervisor of the clinicians that work at Cromwell High School. And then Allison Whitman and Joanne Malinka are executive supervisors. So they're another layer of supervision, kind of making sure that we're adhering here at Cromwell High School to all of our protocols and shaping the programming the way it needs to be shaped for your student population. So as I said, we're in 24 districts and none of our implementations, our mental health supports look the same. We really customize everything based on the district's needs. This is going to be one of 3 data updates that we're going to provide you this school year. So this is the data update for marking period 1. Thank you so much. So I know you already saw some of this information in your packet, so I'm just going to hit the highlights, and Erin, Allison, and Joanne just chime in if I'm missing something or if you'd like to add something. But we're just so thrilled to be partnering with you all at Cromwell High School to implement mental health programming for high-need students in the district. Our partnership is off to a strong start. Our programming is already making a measurable impact on outcomes, which you'll see in a moment, while also creating a cost savings for district financial health. I'm very happy to follow on the follow right after your financial update there, hopefully with some more good news for you. The utilization of ESS services at the high school has been high, with 613 total services delivered. I think we took the snapshot around the middle of November. And students in the ESS program receive on average 4.4 services per week. The students that we service have made significant improvements in the areas of academics, attendance, and decreasing disciplinary incidents. We're going to get to more granular data in just a moment on those improvements. And we have been successful so far in preventing 6 students from having to be sent out of district. So our focus is to provide intensive long-term mental health supports, meeting students where they are at, and so that they can be educated in the least restrictive environment. So we've prevented 6 students from having to go out of district, and that represents about a $600,000 cost avoidance for the district. So that's exciting. And our partnership continues to evolve and strengthen as we work to collaborate with one another on building a strong foundation. We've already done, there's professional development included in your clinical contract. We've already conducted some trainings this year on the language of behaviors. Future trainings, we're going to do one on youth mental health first aid and working out the details on that in the new year, as well as a training on de-escalating students who are dysregulated. Next slide, please. So we just wanted to share some statistics with you all to demonstrate the gravity of the issues. So youth mental health outcomes continue to degrade. I'm not going to go through all of the statistic for sake of time, but the ones that are most alarming is that suicide is the second leading cause of death for teens ages 10 through 34, and that 22% of high school students have seriously considered attempting suicide, and that's way up from about 10 years ago. We have research that's not on the screen is that we've learned that students are 6 times more likely to finish their treatment successfully if it's delivered in a school setting. And schools, you know, since the pandemic and since issues have exacerbated for students since then, schools have become a critical delivery point for mental health services. Next slide. So this is, we use an MTSS aligned approach. MTSS, for those who don't know what that acronym stands for, it's the multi-tiered systems of support. So we use this framework to kind of show you here how we deliver our services. So the services that we deliver at Cromwell High School would fall in the Tier 3 tier. And these services are the most intensive long-term services that we offer for students that have significant behavioral and emotional challenges. We can deliver these in a mainstream model where students are attending their regular classes and pulled out for therapeutic interventions throughout the school day. We'll show you what those look like in a moment. We also deliver sometimes our services in like a self-contained classroom where we're supporting a therapeutic classroom. So that's another model that we've used successfully in other districts. And sometimes students can be in ESS. Tier 3 students can be in our program for the entire year. Sometimes, you know, it's a shorter time frame, but we're constantly looking at the caseload and working with the gatekeepers in the district to identify students who are ready for discharge and students who are on deck to join the ESS program. And just really quickly at our other tiers, Tier 2 is for services for students that have more mild to moderate needs where duration of care might last more like 6 to 8 weeks. That might be a student whose parents might be going through divorce, might have lost a loved one, and just need a little extra support. At Tier 1, oftentimes you'll see universal screeners such as the DESA screener delivered universally throughout the district to assess social emotional health. So that's often done a lot, as well as the SEL curriculums at Tier 1. And then in the foundational tier is that PD that I just talked about that we like to build right into our clinical contracts so that throughout the clinical work that we do, the teachers are being educated and building their capacity as well. Next slide, please. This is a look at the comprehensive clinical programming that is happening every day at Cromwell High School with students in our cohort. We start with, and this is really what sets us apart in our work, we start with a comprehensive biopsychosocial assessment that we deliver with the parents and the student to come up with, to determine an individualized treatment plan. And my colleagues who are here over Zoom, their job is to constantly be analyzing those treatment plans and making tweaks as things go along. So that assessment usually takes about an hour and a half, and at that time the parents are signing they're signing consents for treatment as well as part of that process. And then through the Tier 3, we do weekly individual therapy, we do group therapies, family therapy, we try to do that twice a month. I know this is very important to the district. We push in support for the classroom teacher, and we model good strategies to use with students who might be de-escalating. So we are pushing in support into the classroom, supporting the paraprofessionals, supporting the teachers. And then that clinical supervisory layer, We're making sure that our clinicians have all the support they need and that there aren't any red flags that with any of the students' charts, that we want to make sure that we're dotting all of our I's and crossing our T's. The outcomes measurement is what you're seeing tonight in our data. So let's get into and the urgent interventions is when if a student is really struggling, and the ESS clinician will be like the point person if the student needs to be pulled from class to reset. So we'll pull the student and help them kind of calm down and reset themselves so that they can successfully return to class. Next slide, and I'm going to kind of go quickly because I know we're almost at that 8 o'clock cutoff point. But how do we measure our success? So currently in the census at the high school, I believe there are 17 students in the current census. I believe we just added one new student, so about 504 students, 9 IEP students. We have a student re-entering, and then a student that just completed an intake, and I think one more new one. So we have about almost a full census, so that's exciting. So we track how many students are enrolled in the ESS services and the delivery of therapeutic and academic support services. We report on the progress of students' mental wellness as well as their therapeutic progress. We're very much we are very focused on supporting our administrators by giving them the tools, the reports, the data that they can need to make informed decisions about the students. We are also very involved in the students' academic performance. You'll see tonight that we have data here that we prepared against baselines for grades, attendance, and discipline. So we're constantly progress monitoring on how students are doing against the baselines. We're supporting the parents. This is huge, that family programming piece, so that parents have that support. It's part of the school experience. They don't have to drive to, several towns away to get that therapy. It's all right here, part of the school, the community model, and it just helps for improved outcomes at home. And finally, financial stability. You've already seen that we've prevented 6 students from having to be outplaced this year for that cost avoidance. So we are hopefully giving you a budget surplus at the end of the year. Next slide. So the next few slides are like the granular data breakdown. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these, but what we want you to see is that students are receiving on average 4 services per week. So that's a very strong number based on our benchmark. So engagement in our services with students and their families is high, and we're constantly working to maintain these numbers. The service breakdown basically shows you out of the 613 total services delivered, how these break down. The clinical supports are those tier 3 intensive services, and the education services, just so you know, those are things like classroom observations that our clinicians do. If we're helping a student with learning strategies or assisting them with their schoolwork, those are those education services that we are providing. And then the others, the group therapy, individual therapy, the PRN, those are pro re nata, kind of in the moment interventions. So you can see there that we are actively keeping track of the services and that students and families are engaged. Next slide. This gives you an hourly breakdown of services. So for this fall, we've delivered 447 hours of services. And again, this is through like the middle of November, I believe. So you'll be able to see this later on when you go back and take a look at your packets. But you'll see we have tons of educational services happening, group therapies, individual therapy. So we're spending our hours in the places that really count for improving the students' mental health outcomes. Next slide. We deliver now as a standard, and my colleagues, my clinical colleagues, are more versed in these assessments that we're delivering now on a monthly basis. So we're screening for depression and anxiety. And what you see here, so the GAD-7 is the anxiety scale, and you'll see at the beginning of the year, students were suffering with severe and moderate anxiety, and now we've moved the students in the cohort to more mild symptoms of anxiety, so this is really exciting news. And this is the PHQ-9, which is a depression screener, and we've made definite progress there in the students that we're serving and kind of lessening their depression symptoms. Next slide. And then this is just that academic impact where we're seeing that 70% of students improved in their attendance that are in the ESS cohorts, and then we had maintaining or improvement in discipline 80%, and 60% of the students improved in their GPA. So we're going to continue to share these results with you throughout the school year, so you can see if these metrics have improved even more. Next slide. So the ODP, the 6 students that we've retained in district, we had a discussion, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, about you currently have, I think, 30 students outplaced. So we were talking about Dr. Macri and Mrs. O'Leary and my team about doing a clinical roundtable in January. We're going to evaluate the 30 outplaced students to see if any of them are good candidates for returning to district, and ESS would be that soft landing spot for students when they come back. So if we're able to have that cost avoidance of retaining your current students, but then also the hard cost savings of actually returning students who are currently outplaced, that will hopefully lead to more money in your budget for other types of services. So we will be doing that meeting sometime in January, and perhaps it's results that we can share with you in our next report. Next slide. So we did in that meeting that I just referenced, our CEO Duncan Young took Dr. Macri and Mrs. O'Leary through kind of some funding suggestions. This is what the contract would look like. What the contract for our services would look like for next school year. For those who might not be able to see it, it's $312,625. Well, how do you continue to pay for our services? We're very focused on kind of that sustainability of allowing you to offer these high-level mental health supports here in Cromwell. And a big portion of this is the internal expense offsets of being able to retain students and also return students into district. We also discussed some state-specific grants where I'm very focused in my job on any grants coming from the Connecticut State Department of Education that are mental health related. I pass that information on to my customers. I partner on grant applications. So anything and I actually met with the CSDE last week to push for more funding and advocate for more funding for mental health services. So we'll see what happens with that. We talked about Medicaid reimbursements and also possibly piloting a commercial insurance reimbursement for next year. So that's something that we're just kind of kicking off with some of our partners as a way to partially fund our services, title funds, special ed funds, and then any local funds that might be available. So this is something that we kind of launched our funding conversation for next year, and we'll be continuing to have discussions throughout the year. Parents are really happy with our services. We did receive 3 surveys back, which is actually pretty good from what I hear based on what we usually get back from our parents in our partnerships. But they're 100% satisfied with the services we're providing. And if you could just go to the last slide, I promise this is it. Just some quotes from some of the families. I love this one. I'm so grateful to you for all you have done for my child and are doing now for my other child. We appreciate you so much. Thank you. I am choked up with happiness. And then this last one, the ESS program, has been so helpful to my grandchildren, to our family. We appreciate this, have high praise for our staff, and most grateful for their understanding and care. So I think that's it. Hopefully I wasn't too long-winded, but I'm available.
I hope we didn't feel too rushed because I mentioned the 8 o'clock. I'm sorry,
Well,
but you
no.
did a great job.
Oh, thank you. And I know you have training, and that's super important, so I didn't want to take away from that.
Oh, of course, but this is important too, so thank you. It's very detailed. It was really interesting to look at over the weekend. A lot of information in here, so really appreciate it. Who has questions? I know it's new for our 2 new board members, but Alicia, did you have a question?
Sorry, how many students are in our cohort in the high school, and how are students selected to participate?
Great question. So I'll answer the first part, maybe you can do the second part. So there are 2 ESS clinicians that are full-time at the high school, so they're in the school full-time every day, and I believe they stay 1 late night per week to deliver family therapy. So with a Tier 3 caseload, we typically serve up to 12, well, between 10 and 12 students at a time. So, so that's roughly, a Tier 3 clinician. If we have 2 clinicians in the high school, they can service 20 to 24 students. So currently the census is 17 students between the 2 clinicians. And do you want to explain how the referral process works?
I would say, and I'm going to invite Ms. Binnington because she's heavily part of the referral process, but it's obviously, individualized per student need, and there's weekly meetings that occur. I'll let you go ahead with those meetings.
So I meet weekly with our clinicians who operate in the ESS program, and we invite our school social worker from our school counseling office to be a part of that as well. The purpose of that is that our school counseling department is completely embedded with our student body. So they have eyes and ears on our students who may not be at an ESS level, but we're somewhat concerned. So that weekly meeting is to discuss students currently in the program, their progress, how they're responding to the treatment and the strategies, but also to discuss students who are showing up on our radar with concerns that might mean that they might be a good fit. Because our conversation with ESS is always, how is this student going to complement the program? And will we be able to provide them the supports that we need in a typical school counseling program, or do we need that additional sort of wraparound that an ESS program offers?
Other questions?
Yeah.
So the you spoke earlier about like a depression and anxiety screeners that you're using. Are those essentially just surveys? When you do what slide was that?
Erin, did you hear the question about the depression and anxiety screeners? I'm going to have you address that. Are they just?
No, I didn't.
Are they
I
just?
did not hear it. Could you repeat it for us?
Yes, Matt from the board asked if the depression and anxiety screeners, are they surveys? Can you just give a little more data about those, please?
They're not surveys. They're actually, sorry, my voice is going a little bit in and out. They're actually psychiatric screeners. So the PHQ-9 is a depression screener, and then the GAD-7 is actually an anxiety screener. So we administer those about monthly to see where the kids are falling.
So what is it that's being administered? Are they personal interviews? Are they, informal surveys? Are they observationally based?
The students will actually complete the assessment, so it'll be, there's very specific questions, and the students will fill them out each month that they're prompted to by the clinicians.
Okay, so it's like
to a rating scale.
It's like a
symptomology.
So it's like a rating scale, like questions that are a little bit more specifically based, and then it's like a always, sometimes, never response type like that.
Correct. I don't know if she can hear you.
Is your mic on?
Yep.
Okay.
Could you repeat that?
Sure. So really then it's students are answering questions, and those questions that they're answering those things. For example, when's the last time you felt so sad that you didn't want to get out of bed? Or I feel sad to the point that I can't get out of bed. Always, sometimes, never, or like a rating of 1 to 5, something along those lines. That's the type of questions that are involved.
Erin, are we using a Likert scale? How are the students answering? So is it a Likert scale where 1 through 5, or is it sometimes, always, maybe, never is the question?
Yeah, so it's not at all several days, more than just half the days, nearly every day. So it's based on how frequent the students are experiencing the symptomology that the questionnaire is asking. It's a universal screener used to determine diagnoses of anxiety disorders and chronic depression.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Alicia.
You mentioned training, so I wrote down youth mental health first aid and de-escalation, which I think is fantastic. Are we training all teachers, staff? Who's receiving the training, and how can we make sure that it's provided broadly? Because I imagine this would be helpful not just for our high school population, but also for the staff and teachers throughout our district.
More recently, we had a, I would say it was a choice training across the district, and staff got to choose, look at Carrie because she helped plan it, choose which presentation they would like to join. Some were through ESS, some were not. So that's how we did it with the November PD Day, and that's how I believe we're doing it with the February PD Day. And ESS is going to be an offering again. Yeah.
Okay, Matt, back to you.
Sorry. So based on the data presented here, and based on things that we've heard from previous updates, even some of those that were more brief, it seems like this is a program that is providing a pretty good benefit to our students. Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. Is there any consideration to looking in the future and expanding this to the middle school? I know that was discussed early on when we first were exploring this program. I'm sure it's a possibility, but this is more of a question for you guys. Are we kind of looking at this and saying, okay, if this continues to go well for another year or so, we may want to consider expanding it down to the middle school? I'm just noticing some of the behavioral.
So to answer your question, remember we talked about when we get the new building, we absolutely have to look into other ways. Our biggest concern is for the littles, right? So ECS and WIS. ESS is amazing and does amazing things, but their specialty is not, they don't do therapeutic holds. They're working on my understanding is you're working on more of how to address and work with kids who are little, who are small. That's where we need more support right now, to be quite honest with you. Would we look at it for the middle school? Absolutely, but not until we have the new building, because it requires a functional space, and it's beautiful. If you've ever walked into the space at the high school, it matters. And we have Ann's teaching a class in the darn Board of Education room. Let's just face it, we have teachers on carts, so you need to have that space, and I definitely think we should highly consider it when we get our new school. And we have some space for us to consider that. I will never say never, because I always want to give everything a chance. My experience in the past, I've told you, I've been honest with you with ESS. I love the model and the work that we've been able to accomplish in my past district in the high school. It was pretty choppy and not all that successful, and for me, not fiscally responsible to have it in the middle school. That doesn't mean it won't work in Cromwell. We would, with the right clinicians and the right support system and the right training from the clinicians, or whoever our clinicians are, I think it could work. That's been my personal experience, so I want to travel, I want to do this very methodically before we make any decisions. I want to set it up for success, and it would not be successful with the way the building is right now. But yes, in the future for sure. And then in speaking with Duncan, we've talked a little bit about what is ESS doing for elementary age kids, because we're struggling. Forget about us. Our students are struggling. Our families are struggling. So how can we help support our students here in Cromwell so that they can stay here? And if ESS can find that magic bullet, I'd be more than happy to have that in our schools, because we need it. Our kids need it. Our families need it.
Any other questions? When will we see this again? Is it every 3 months?
You can see it. Yeah, and I would say at this point, we should probably look to at least April of, where you think, I was thinking more
February?
April, because we want to get out of the budget season, or you will be here
Oh, it's
until
in-
midnight.
But I
It's in
think,
March,
What
actually.
Amy
Yeah.
was saying,
March.
we get the data presented to us in this way every 3 months, but we can
Yeah.
update you in the spring after the budget
Okay,
season.
and it'll
Yeah.
be similar, we'll add on to what was done here, basically? Is that how you plan to proceed, is just kind of keep this format and fill it in? Okay.
Unless there's anything that you want to see that's differently, think about it, and then you can email Selena and let her know, and we can see if we can get that data.
Yeah, we have a whole data analytics hub, so if there's data that you're not seeing, just make your request, and we have a very smart data guy who can pretty much do anything. Find, pull out any data that you need, so just definitely keep us posted if there's a data point that is really missing.
Okay, great. If anyone has any ideas, just email me and I'll get them over to her, or to Dr. Macri, and we'll see what we can do for the next one. I did want to just mention the parent survey page really blew me away. That's like the most important thing to me, is to see that we're helping families, and that's great. So I'm happy to see that. Other than that, things seem to be moving in the right direction. So thank you so much for your hard work, and to everyone on this call, sorry for the long delay. And unless there are any other questions, all right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, everyone.
On Zoom.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. All right, from here, we will move on to the K-3 reading waiver update, and for that, we will have Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Carrie McLean.
Good evening, everyone. So we have answers, which is good news. We were awarded a transitional waiver by the state of Connecticut. So it's not exactly everything we wanted, but it is something, and we can begin work. What that means is that there are 5 components. They approved some of our curricular components, and they are requiring us to go back to the drawing board on a few of them. Where we had planned on developing portions of the curriculum, it became very clear in their overview that they would like us to purchase something. So we had not intended on purchasing something for comprehension, but it's going to be required. Our foundations program and Haggerty, those programs that we have and are using, they have been accepted. We are going to meet with the elementary literacy committee in the next month or so. At the same time they released the waiver results, they also added new programs to the approved list. So we have to go back and start to review those programs and allow the committee to look at them so that we can make an informed decision on where we're going. So the good news is that we will not have to purchase an entire reading curriculum, but we may have to purchase some portions to add to what we are already using.
Did you say they added more options to the 5 that they gave us?
Yeah,
I think it was
immediately
7
after they
originally.
reviewed some. So
Is that good news?
It's good news. I haven't really looked at them that deeply yet, so I can't tell you whether they're good or not. They're not. What they released was in some cases not an entire comprehensive curriculum. They released some portions that are focused on comprehension, and some so that they're not. You don't have to buy the whole thing. You just focus on that component, and if you have these other components with it, then they're considering that a big. So yeah, it's disappointing because I don't think in my time I've never seen the state of Connecticut say that we can't develop our own curriculum.
this is actually awful. It's disgusting. I'm just going to come out and say it. In the conversation that we had when we had our meeting with the waiver, I'm not saying anything that I haven't said out loud, in a meeting with Shipman and Goodwin to legislators and exactly how I feel. I strongly feel that the 3 of us know more than the people who are on the call making these decisions. We've made it happen. in another district, like I explained it to you. Anyone who is making up their own units of study, we feel we're discriminated against, along with my colleagues. We did have a call with Shipman and Goodwin. Anne Fran Rabinowitz, she's the head of CAPS, Connecticut Association of Superintendents. She's at a loss for words. She's never been through anything like this before. The state is telling us what to do and how to do it. We don't have a class action suit because they reviewed our waivers independently. If they reviewed them all at once, although when you look at the list of who was accepted and who was not accepted and how we were, because it's transitional, fully accepted, transitional, limited, does not meet expectations or whatever it was. I can't even believe they used the word limited. When you look at the districts, the 17 of the waivers that were accepted, what we believe happened was suddenly these other little things got plopped in last minute. And 11 out of those 17 districts are underperforming where we are in reading. And the top performing districts
Ended up in the category
worse than us, which means
some of them did end up limited, yeah.
Yeah, worse. Like Westport, we're talking about high performing districts that do units of study. They have to buy millions of dollars of worth of a program. So this is the top down telling us how to educate our kids, and there is some stuff that we can do about it. However, what we have talked about, what we want to discuss with our team, we're thinking close. We're hoping to stay around $150,000 at best. If we fight this and we hire Shipman, we all have to go individually. I'm going to spend $150,000, and I know she's here. I love Jessica Ritter, but I love her so much. But I'd rather put the money towards programs and get going with what we need to do, because they're never going to accept our units of study, even though we had
I don't even
a
want to call them
beautiful.
units of study. We're going to put Calkins off the table, but
Yeah,
our
exactly.
units.
Right, our units. So it is what it is. Highly disappointed. I expressed, along with my colleagues, how disgusted we all are. There are ways that we can move forward, but it won't be beneficial to any of us, and especially not our students, and not financially. They've made
like
it
I
impossible.
said, I'm just glad we can move forward, because the longer this process got delayed, the longer it's taking us to implement what we know we need to implement in the first place. So we're going to get going, and part of what we need to be doing, we are already doing, which is great. So they did accept the things that are already in place that we have of the programs that are now on the approved list. So we've got partial things in place, and we're going to work on getting the other pieces in there. And it does unfortunately mean that we will have to purchase some components. It won't be an entire new program, which is good news, but there are, like Dr. Macri said, some financial implications to having to purchase.
Which you'll see in the budget
program
on January 23rd.
And just to clarify, correct me if I'm wrong, but they'll be purchased, and then you'll be training next year. It won't be implemented next year.
Won't be implemented next year. We have until the following year that we have to be implementing by then. But I think the timeline now is manageable, especially now that we know that some components that we've already been piloting and implementing slowly are going to be approved. So we're good there. So those are things that we've already got in place.
All right, any questions? Catherine.
So yeah, we had asked before that you let us know as soon as possible, and thank you for letting us know. I was infuriated when I read the update. It almost seems as if the state disgustingly already knew what they were going to do prior to any waivers being submitted, which is a complete disgrace and waste of everyone's time. I'm wondering, I know that we have to move forward with all of this. We've already spent you have spent a tremendous amount of time, which is utilizing our resources in areas that ended up being a moot point. But going forward, are there ways that we as a board could assist by going to the state and standing up at public comment at the state? Because they continue to do this over the past couple of years since we've been coming out of COVID, and I'm completely disgusted with the state's treatment of different districts, and this is another solid example. So please share with us, since I know you fight on your end, but I'm starting to think that there's probably more that the board can do to fight on or even regular citizens of the district can do to fight on behalf of our
forward?
I absolutely think the first place to start, if you want to do it as a board together or individually, is with Senator Lesser and Representative Carpino. I'm pretty sure they agree with us, but the more they hear from us of how disappointing this has been, and Shipman said they would get back to us and CAPS with more of what we can do. But we need to be heard loud and clear. And the reason why they even came up with the waiver process is because we made such a stink about it. So they came up with this waiver process that they knew was never going to be successful in the first place. And then they made us do additional work. And when they filled out the rubric, they never even used the additional work that we did over the last 8 months.
That was the part that was infuriating
That's
to me.
the
is that
infuriating
We've been
part.
working this whole time. They've been stalling and not giving us an answer, and we tried to provide them with additional resources that they could review, and they basically said,
No, thank you.
We can't do it. And it was very, when we got the feedback, it was very disheartening because the meeting that we had was so positive. And so then to kind of hear, it really did feel like they were sort of rote responses as they were responding to the rubric. And at the end of the day, they had partnered with certain companies, and those are the companies that they wanted us to purchase materials from. And
Which one of the companies is a company that we used when we were reading for school, and we ended up boxing up all those books and sending them to Africa. We donated them. The program did not work, and yet people are being forced to buy this program. Because it's not about the program. It's about the instruction, and it's about all the pieces. But we have to move on. And I'm not angry at all. But I do think, yes, we're going to be positive about it. Yes, you can be angry for it. I couldn't believe my eyes. And we had a meeting immediately with our, like I said, with Fran Rabinowitz, and Tom Mooney was on the call.
I don't know if you saw the list though, but it really is like, your high performing districts are in the limited and transitional, and your alliance districts, your 30 least performing districts, are the ones that got their programs approved. It's really bizarre.
Because they're given millions of dollars.
It's very hard to stomach.
And I agree. Like, I'm fine with, I worked in a district that needed that money. They're much more needy students. I get it. I understand the alliance money goes to the districts that need it the most, but they can also afford to spend that money
And they had
on
to.
these programs, and they had no choice.
They had to purchase a program.
So there's districts on there that
They were
had
just sort of
no
padding
choice
that
but to
ca- they were
fight.
just padding that pass
Right.
category.
They padded who received because you had no choice but to buy a program. So I don't even know why they applied for a waiver. It doesn't even make any sense to me. They may have started the year before with a different, I don't know.
Matt, you have a comment?
Question: where can we find a list of the now 7 approved programs?
We can send you the link.
Can you
It's
send me
right
the
on the
link?
State Department's website of the approved programs, and now they have some additional, what they're calling compendiums of programs. So if you have this combination of programs, then that will be approved, but it has to be this very specific combination. And so the good news is, in those combinations, we do have some programs already in place. But I will send that to you. It's all.
If
it's
you
all
don't
posted.
mind, if you
no,
could
not
send
at
that to me. I have a couple of ideas.
And ours too, transitional.
Alan.
Is there a way to get talking points in terms of, if we were to follow up with Carpino and Lesser in terms of?
Oh, I could even write something, Marion. You could
Are you kidding? Those two ladies up there, they're just waiting.
Yeah. I'd be happy to frame something.
Draft it for us, and we'll send it back to the board.
Is the Superintendent's Association planning to mount some kind of a legislative advocacy appeal to SDE so that maybe we can get all the legislators from the districts that are also as outraged to work together to try to appeal to?
Yep, so that was what Fran, so the CAPS, the Connecticut Association of Superintendents, that was our discussion. She was on the call. I've never heard Fran say she's been superintendent. She was deputy commissioner. She said it devoted her entire life to this. She said she has never been at a loss like she has been at a loss, because we did everything that we have always done and gotten somewhere. And this is the first time that she said she doesn't even know what else to do, because we did all that when we received the opportunity for the waivers, and we thought they were listening. So at this point, that was when she got us on the call with Shipman and Goodwin, so that they can tell us what are our legal things. How can we address this legally? And Shipman wrote back to us and let us know, there are things that you can do legally, but instead of doing it together, right, as a group, which would cost us so much less if it could be a class action suit of all, it's not acceptable because they reviewed our waivers individually, so we have to do it on our own. So she's not going to give up, so when I find out anything more, we'll do whatever it takes, even though we'll move forward, and I'll let Carrie and Amy do the happy work, and I'll do the very sad work, but they'll move forward and make it work because we need to do that for our students. But I don't want to let this go, and so however I can tell and have you help and advocate, and I think the best place to start is with Senator Lesser and Representative Carpino.
Right, and again, the legislation, there's nothing wrong with the legislation. It's good legislation. It's the way that it's being implemented.
Right.
There's no reason. We have book rooms of books. We have resources. We have things that we could be using to build something that is comparable to what it is they're asking us to purchase. And to not do that seems silly to me, but here we are, so.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Thank you for all of your hard work, and keep us posted and let us know what we can do to help. So.
We will, and I will draft that, and I'll send you the link.
Thank you.
We'll draft all of yours. You each get your own. You each get your as you will.
All right, so action item C, new course approval, EDEL 212 for the spring, and then EDF 215 for the fall. Reference D in your packet. Do we have an explanation with Mr. Kuckel? You have it in your packet. It shows the whole proposal. I feel like we approved something similar to this last year, but maybe it was just a trial. Am I wrong? It was specific to PE, though.
So that was the PE internship.
Internship.
Yes. Okay. So at the high school, as most of you know, we're trying these career pathways initiatives, and one of our pathways that we're building is an education pathway. So with that program, we have decided to partner with Central Connecticut State University. And what these two courses will be are what we call dual enrollment courses for us here at the high school, meaning if you take the course and essentially pass the central standards of that, you will be awarded Cromwell High School credit and also Central Connecticut State University credit. So you would actually literally get a transcript from CCSU with those courses on it. Now, historically at the high school, we've traditionally done this with ECE, UConn, the University of Connecticut. The requirements to have a teacher who is ECE certified are very challenging, and essentially when you lose a teacher who is ECE certified, it is not as simple as just hiring another math teacher who could then be certified in the same ECE courses. So we've seen a drop-off with that, and we are working on a partnership with Central that will bring with us, this will be 2 of 5 courses that students potentially could get Central credit for. And these 2 specifically would be in the education pathway. And the PE internship that we had, this would go with that course as well. And we do have the luxury here in Cromwell that I do think is unique to most school districts, which is geography. We have the ability to send our kids to ECS by simply walking across the field to have them work with students over there. We can get to WIS same way. We don't need transportation for that. We can just get over there. So the education pathway with the PE internship, that's what they've done on a limited basis. They've gone over there for field days to help them out and instruct in the classroom, and it's been a beneficial program there. So these courses would be taught by Mr. LeMay currently, and they would be 2 semester courses that students could take here in the education pathway for Cromwell High School credit and Central Connecticut State University credit. And next month you'll have essentially 3 more new course, hopefully proposals, 1 for personal finance and 2 in the communication sector for video production and news broadcasting production as well. We're dual enrollment courses, so we're trying to bump that up, and these would be 2 options that fit into our Career Pathways program.
Great. So each of these would be equivalent to 3 credits?
Yes.
You don't have to take them both?
No. So if you took them both, you'd get 6.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Sounds good to me. Any questions? Matt?
You may as well just look at me. I just really a couple of quick thoughts on this. Whose idea was this? This Mr. LeMay's idea and design? Where did it come from?
So actually, over the summer, Carrie, Dr. McLean, reached out to me because she had been talking with Central because she recognized the problem that we had here at the high school, which was we had lost a lot of dual enrollment opportunities. And Central essentially reached out and they worked and started talking, and Central essentially made it so that way it was something that was doable for us. Because again, the UConn way, it's great, but it is very challenging for us to get UConn certified teachers here.
So the state is highly encouraging partnerships. Central made it very, very easy for our students to get into a dual enrollment program. It also was free, which some of the colleges that I spoke with were going to charge per student or something like that. And so this, not to mention that it's very local, and so a lot of our students go to Central, so having credits there is helpful. Paula Talty she sort of spearheads the program, and she used to be a Cromwell employee here, administrator, and so we've been working closely together, and it's exciting. This is one of many courses that we're going to bring forward to you in different pathways, but this is where there's the greatest need right now in education and some interest. So.
Well, and I honestly, this really kind of stuck out to me when I was reading through it, because I read a stat back in the early fall which said that in Connecticut, somewhere around 2% of currently enrolled college students are in college on a career path into education, which, considering we're facing a teacher shortage, is terrible that it's such a low percentage. So this actually kind of fosters the future of this craft.
We're trying to grow
which is huge, right? This is definitely in the line of like grow our own future educators, which is fantastic. I love to hear that CCSU is doing it at no cost. That's huge. And it's also a benefit to them, right? Because they'll be bringing in some future students. So that's also nice. And honestly, the expenses that I saw associated with this look like they're limited just to textbooks. Is that correct?
It is entirely limited to textbooks. We do have grant funding that's covering the curriculum development costs. So for those courses, and for some of the courses coming soon, some of the communications courses that we're going to bring forward to you, there's some equipment that we had to purchase in order to run those courses. So the grant's going to cover those. But we are also fortunate that with some rearranging, we have staff that can teach these courses. So that's a blessing.
Yeah,
Like that really was a blessing. We had the right people in the right places, that we were able to absorb these courses without adding any additional staff. So there is a small cost, and like the textbooks and things that are like regular maintenance of the course will be part of our budget, but the setup costs and the kind of get it up and running costs, the state has given us a grant for.
So really, once you put the grants aside, the cost of the district is minimal.
Right.
So it sounds like you kind of spearheaded this. So thank you for that, and thanks to the teachers who are going to be teaching it.
Yeah,
I
there's a lot of enthusiasm about
So
it.
Matt,
it's really great.
sounds like you want to go ahead and approve these.
Before we do,
I will.
Dr. McLean is extremely humble. This is incredibly difficult to do and to do well. And she has been trying to do this since she got here. So she talks it down. She gives credit to everyone else. Our teachers are amazing, but this credit belongs to her. I tried to do it, and let me tell you, I failed. So I'm incredibly grateful and proud, because our kids having this opportunity and for free is incredible. So a big thank you to the relationships that Carrie has built with Dr. Talty and with Dr. Vazone since the second she got here. So I don't want that to go unnoticed.
Thank you for pointing that out.
So unless there's further discussion.
Would you like to approve the courses now?
I would move that we approve these courses, absolutely.
Second by Catherine. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The courses are approved. Thank you again. Okay, we'll move on to action approval of minutes and motions from our November 14th. Sorry. Yep, strike that. We'll go back to action item C. Stipend, let me see. No, it is the minutes. Yep. That's next.
Oh, sorry.
So from our November 14th regular meeting, reference E. Is there a motion to approve? Lori, is there a second? Alan, all in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Matt's abstaining. Okay, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Action item E, there's our stipend approval, and it's for the 2023-2024 school year. Reference F in your packet. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at it. If there aren't any questions, is there a motion? I heard one from Catherine. Second by Alicia. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Stipends are both approved. And then we have a couple of informational items in our packets. We have the Human Resources Personnel Activity, reference G in your packets, and also the principal reports, reference H, I, J, and K. Any questions on either of those? Sure. Lori? No. Dr. Macri, go ahead.
Acknowledge Jen Tyne is retiring after 20 years of service to the district. So I just want to thank her for her devotion to our students and for her service. And we wish her well in her next endeavor, which I believe is at Central, working with Dr. Talty. So good for her. She'll be excellent at that. So thank you to her and to all the help that she's provided to our students and our staff.
Great, thank you. First Lori, then Alan.
Yeah, mine's real quick. I had to leave before the end of the last meeting when you were going over the retirements. So I just wanted to acknowledge and thank, the first one was Kathy Gazzardi from the high school. I'm going to miss seeing her smiling face in the office. I always enjoyed seeing her. And I also just want to make, note of Kathy Bremer's retirement. She's been teaching here for 35 years, which is unbelievable. And we were blessed to have her as a teacher. And I was just looking at her letter where, I don't want to cry because she's very dear to me. So she put, that she's made a lot of wonderful relationships with her students and their families. And that's so true. And I just want everyone to know how wonderful and amazing she is. I want to thank her for everything she's done for all the students and families in our district, and I wish her the best in her retirement. So that was it.
Thank you for sharing that, Lori. Alan, you had a question.
That question, looking at the number of students truant and suspension and the like, those numbers seem to be up across the boards, but yet we hear we're cutting down on truancy and
You're counting.
These numbers are up, I think, substantially.
So the way the state counts students that are truant, we have no control over. We can't make kids come to school, but we also cannot make parents stop going on vacations that are longer than they should be going, because you are considered truant if you are absent for a certain amount of time. You are considered truant if you're chronically absent. This has been happening, but it's been happening way more, where families are taking vacations because it may be cheaper to leave a few days earlier. The state doesn't care if the parent calls it in. The state, they don't care. If you're not in school, you're not there. If it's excused, you're still considered chronically absent. So we've seen an uptick on that, where people are taking kids out when they shouldn't. Not much we can do. It's their children. We have seen kids are definitely sicker. We have encouraged families to keep their kids home after COVID if they are sick, and they're following the rules with the little ones as far as 24 hours fever free. That wasn't always a rule that was always followed as being a principal. 24 hours was out the window. People are really trying to follow a lot of those rules as well, just in case their child does have COVID. So it's a combination of different things.
Partial day. Sorry to interrupt, but partial day, if you pull your student out for a doctor's appointment,
If you
that's a missed.
it all counts. So there's no excuse that is good enough to not be counted towards chronic absenteeism anymore. There used to be. If your parents called you in, you would be considered absent, but you would never be reported chronically absent. The state has changed all of that. You call your kid in, it's like 4 times, I think it's, 4 times in a month, 10 in a year. So if you're out 4 times in a month or 10 times in a year, you're considered chronically absent, which isn't a heck of a lot of days if you're getting sick. There's nothing we can do about those rules that they've changed.
Do they give us a report card based on that, though?
Yeah, we actually got a report card, and most of our chronic absenteeism that we noticed on a report card from last, remember I talked to you a little bit about that, and Carrie did too, was more at ECS and WIS. They're little. There are conversations, individual conversations that are had with families, but that's where it's happening the most. Not so much at the middle at the high school and then at the high school. The high school, it becomes more of a truancy issue. But if we did not have ESS, that truancy issue would be even more so.
And that covers truancy. How about suspensions?
Yeah, suspensions. It's all individualized on behavior. It's policies that are broken. Kids are given.
Are you asking if that counts as a truancy?
No, I'm not. And I'm just.
Yeah.
Both these numbers are
Yeah.
wrong.
They're given.
Truancy, and explain one. Now I want to hear about
Yeah.
it.
Students are given many opportunities. We work with families. When a student is being mostly violent or something of that nature, I want to say, I hate to use the word violent, but aggressive, yeah, dysregulated. There are many opportunities for the child to get it together, but when it becomes difficult and they hurt others, or that's usually when we suspend. Have we had situations where we've had to suspend multiple children while we're trying to get them help this year more than other years? Absolutely. We're not the only district. So you get to the point where you're doing everything you can to help a family, and sometimes families accept the help and sometimes they don't. Sometimes you've offered all the help that you possibly can, but the child is a danger to themselves or others, and you have to take the disciplinary route. That doesn't mean we're not still trying to help them, but we have to have disciplinary action. And we've seen that more this year than we have in the past in Cromwell.
Reasons? Just
Behavioral challenges, mental health. We blame everything on mental health, but the truth is our kids are struggling with mental health, and they don't know how to cope, and our families are struggling with coping, and I think overall I would say society is struggling with coping. There's only so much we can do in school, and we never give up. But if someone's putting their hands on someone else or trying to harm themselves, we have to do what we have to do. That doesn't mean we give up on them, but we've seen an uptick.
parental cooperation is.
I feel that every parent wants to do what they believe is best for their child. And what everybody believes is best for their child may not necessarily be in line with district policies, yes. So we try to work with people, and it's not like when we went to school. It's different. And I'm not saying it's bad, because there are responsibilities that are placed on the school that we need to do better at. I say that, we always say that. There's always room for improvement. We just see a lot of kids who are dysregulated, and families who are really struggling with accepting help. And we're going to keep doing our best.
All right, any other questions? All right. Thank you for asking those questions, Alan. We'll move on to policies first read, and we have items A through G. They are just first read, so they will move on for a second read, and that's when we'll approve them at our next meeting. Are there any, sorry, go ahead, Lori.
I thought we changed it that the policy committee reads it twice, but then the full board reads it once. Didn't we change that?
Was the policy changed? To
No,
do
I
that?
thought policy, didn't we talk about policy committee was going to read it twice, and then the full board, since we're reading it twice and the full board's reading it, are we still doing it 2 and 2?
I think it was in our bylaws, and we have to change it then.
Our bylaws. And I would love to do that. I'd be more than
We
happy
can
to bring that forward at the next
I could swear that, I just feel like we had.
Let's circle back on that and see how we can make that happen then.
Because
Maybe there was a reason we couldn't.
No, I know we discussed it, but it didn't actually happen.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's been this way since I got here. It's overkill, and it takes a long time to get policies through.
Oh, that's right. We talked about it, and then we
Yeah.
were talking about.
How would we
okay,
do it?
okay, all right. Now it's coming back to me. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I think that personally, and if you want my opinion, if we do it twice at the policy level, the full board only needs to look at it once because we're already going through it twice. But that's my opinion. But okay, never mind. Sorry.
So we can make that happen. We just have to figure out how, right?
We have Jessica here tonight, so we can ask her that. That could be a question we ask her during the training. Let's stump the chump while she's here.
Okay. So for now, were there any initial questions when you looked over these policies? All right, then you can bring them to our next meeting, and they'll be moved to a second read. And we have none on for second read tonight. Board committee reports. Policy met tonight. Did you get through a lot tonight? Lori, would you like to give a little update?
Sure. We got through quite a bit. I would say we got through probably more than half of it.
Oh,
it was a huge packet, so not really possible. Actually, yeah, we did really well. So there's probably like 6 or 7 that we didn't get to, but yeah, we got through a lot.
All right, thank you, Policy Committee. Nice job. Facilities and Technology did not meet. We'll meet again in January. And then topics for future agendas. I just wanted to add, I'm not sure if you're ready to add it, but we had talked about maybe having an SRO update in March. So if you want to add that to the March.
So, would you like me to do that sooner rather than later? Because I know we talked about it. I could just get an update, and I could give you an update by January 9th. I mean, I could just call the chief and see where we're at, because right now we are still in the same.
This was more.
Oh, so have the chief come.
This isn't unrelated to the hiring issues. This is, remember when I reached out and asked that question, which you forwarded, about what they're doing at the high school for speeding and things like that.
Oh,
And
yes,
So,
yes,
so
yes,
basically
I
our
do.
SROs do a lot more than what we know that they
So
do
much
during the
going on.
school day. So he had shared that there are a lot of things that he could come and give us an update probably in the spring.
Yeah,
To
March-
just let
March
us know
would
what
be
they have going
perfect.
on.
Let us get through budget, but March would be perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
But and then I will give an SRO. I will speak with the chief as far as our situation right now of who we have working in our schools, which is working out very well. But we do have to talk about the second SRO.
Okay.
And I'll talk to him.
Okay, sounds good. All right, comments, updates, and announcements from board members. We'll start at Steve. Would you like to share anything?
I just want to share that I went to the CABE new board member training
right.
last week. It was very informational. I got a pretty good packet that I'll scan in and just share with everybody.
Oh, great.
So.
Thank you. I'm glad it was helpful.
That's great, Steve. If you give it to us, give it to me, the pack. I'll scan it in and send it so you don't have to worry about scanning. Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay, did they give you a book too? Like a big,
giant
binder?
binder.
Okay.
I still have
Some
mine.
of us might have it.
Yeah.
It's probably updated.
Yeah.
All right, Alicia, do you have anything to add? Comments, updates, announcements, anything? We just go around. No pressure. All right, Kelly.
I just wanted to mention that the middle school had already mentioned it, but John Halligan had come to the middle school and had the CMS PTO and the Cromwell Coalition help too. He talked about and he shared his son's tragic story about bullying and suicide. And it was a great parent presentation with great information, talked about tips on helping open conversation with your child, and how there was a survey that talked about, I think it's given in the high school, but it talks about how one of the questions is, have you ever thought seriously about suicide? And it's dipped down in 2006, and then 2007 it has been gradually steady consistency, and 2007 is when the iPhone came out. So it talks about how technology has been the worst part of it all. There was a good participation, and thankful for the people who attended. I wish more parents were able to come. But then the students got to see and hear him the next day and talked about the different parts about being the person that's a bully, a bullied person, and then the bystander. So he talked about the whole situation. And then another event that Selena and Catherine and I went to about the opiate and vape awareness panel that at the high school, which was a big eye opener. Sorry, were you going to talk about it? That's okay. Again, wish it was a better turnout, but the people that came had great questions, and it was just a big eye opener. But we're lucky enough to have all these resources in town with the youth services and the rec department that hopefully more people attend so we can keep doing them. That's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Catherine.
I'm just going to piggyback off of her two comments. First, about the middle school. I did not go to the middle school presentation for John, but I had gone earlier in the year at a different school, and both my boys have listened to it, and the impact that it had on them is absolutely amazing and astounding, and the conversations had were at a level that I did not anticipate. So if you ever have him again, and when it comes to this other school again at Xavier, I can share, because any parent's welcome to go. My son said to me, "Are you going, Mom? You have to go. You have to listen. You need to be there." And I got there, and multiple friends of his, the parents were there, and their kids came home and said the same thing. You need to go. You need to listen. You need to know what's happening. And some of the things that he said he did versus what he should have done was shocking to me, because I probably would have done a lot of the same things that he actually did. And then moving on to the high school, I agree with you. I wish there were more people at the high school one. I don't think it matters your ages of your students. It's important to know. It was shocking to see some of the stuff, but I was impressed by the volume of services that I was not aware of were happening here at the school. I almost wish I knew more when I had a student here, but it was a really, really good presentation. I hope we're able to do it again. I feel like the presenters offered some great insight and overview, and even people who were just watching and came to be a part of it offered some fantastic feedback and shared some of their experiences, and it was an incredible, incredible event. So kudos to the middle school and the high school for fantastic events that were put on.
Definitely agree with both of them. And the only thing I'll add is that as part of that hidden in plain sight, there was, like you said, so many resources in the hall. Like, I did not expect to see the amount of resources, DCF, I mean, everyone, and then just the programs that they all offered. They're not always so easy to find on their website, I think, but if more people could come out and just talk to the people at the tables, I think it'd be helpful. But everyone does what they can, so we'll just keep trying. So that's all I have, and happy holidays, everyone. Last meeting.
We have, and we are so lucky, and I say we, all of our students, our families, we have so many resources in this town, and so many people who work together, so many different organizations that work together, and you saw it in developing both of those. A lot of emails, a lot of conversation, a lot of coordination, and everyone was happy to do it. One of the things that shocked me that a parent had said to me was that her child truly said, I don't do drugs. They're prescription drugs. They get them from someone, but I don't do drugs. And it's an opioid. It is a drug. And you are going to, and we're talking about 16-year-olds and the way they are seeing it, and parents having no idea. It is scary of what we see and what we hear, and the kids that we're talking about all the time that need extra help and extra services. What I'd like to try to do is have all of these services be on one sheet of paper so that everyone can have, and we can send them home to all families. I did speak with Sarah Maffalini, who's excellent as well, about how can we do this together so that we come up with one sheet that we can send home with everyone when we send home that big packet, because the families that we think we need, because we know, right? They get this information through our social workers, psychs, whoever, teachers, counselors. But sometimes we don't know who needs it. So we need to get it out to everybody. So that's something that we are going to try and work on.
All right, thank you. Lori?
And happy holidays to all of you.
Thank you, Selena, for these. These
You're
are so
welcome.
nice. That was really
Thank
sweet
you
of
all.
you. And happy holidays to everybody.
Kelly. Alan? Matt?
Just to thank you for this. I really appreciate it. It'll probably be my new teacup for when we have these meetings. But I wanted to wish all of our all of our employees, and in particularly our classroom educators, our school psychologists, our school counselors, our special educators, our paras, not only happy holidays, but I also want to thank them because anyone who provides a direct service to our students knows that the weeks building up to a holiday and time off, we tend to see more behaviors, more stress in our students. And you know, it's unfortunately the holidays do kind of breed this, but it's also unfortunate that not everyone looks forward to the holidays. So I know what our teachers and our professionals are dealing with in their classrooms right now, and there's a heightened sense of anxiety, whether it's positive or negative for individual students. And I just want to thank them for working through, doing the best they can for our kids, and I hope they have a very, very relaxing time off when that time comes.
Agreed. Thank you very much, Matt. Okay, so does anyone here need a 2-minute break before we start our training? Anybody? I know some of you were
No, but
here
I
for
could use a
policy.
5-minute break.
What? Oh,
No, but I
okay,
could
maybe
use
5.
5.
I'll grant you 5.
No, hurry up. This is costing us money. Let's
You can leave for 5. We're going to start with that.
I'm teasing you. I'm